Hey guys, it's Natalie. If you're new, welcome to my channel. I'd also like to welcome back all of my great subscribers as always. Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm really happy to announce today that I'm doing a collab with my girl Fanny. She has a channel called Creations by Favi, and if you haven't checked her out already, you really should. She does my favorite, I'm a little biased, sorry, but she does Farmhouse, she does Boho, she does Upcycle, she does Recycle, another one of my favorites, and she's so creative. You will not be disappointed. So when you're done watching my video, why don't you hop on over to her channel, tell her I said hi. I'll be leaving a link to her channel in the description box below. So if you guys are new or from Fanny's channel, welcome. And if you like what you see, why don't you hit the little heart subscribe button on the lower right hand corner of the screen. Also hit the notification bell so that this way YouTube will inform you when I'm here again. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Natalie Creates Crafts. All right, guys, I hope you're in a crafting mood like I am, like I always say, and let's get started. Our first project is the Macrame wall planter. You're going to need one base, one shower hook, some rocks, foliage, light nautical rope, glue gun, glue sticks, and scissors. I started off with my nautical rope and I unraveled it. It does have 3 strands. We're going to use 2 bundles of the nautical rope for this project. Once you have it unraveled, what I did was I wanted to get some of the kinks out of it. So I took my flat iron and I just passed it through just a few times. You could just see the difference where I flat ironed it and where I didn't. I also wanted to show you the difference with the nautical rope that Dollar Tree sells. They do have 2 different kinds, and I didn't realize it till I took a closer look. One is 6 foot 9 inches and one is 11. You're going to need 2 of the 11 for this project. I then took my shower hook and one of the strands, well, a scrap strand. I put a little bit of glue on the bottom of the shower hook. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the nautical rope around the entire shower hook. You could use a wooden one, but I just wanted to keep it Dollar Tree friendly. So I used the shower hook and I only needed one. We're just going to then glue the end and just cut off the excess. Now we're going to take our 6 strands that we separated. We're going to put it through the hook and you're going to bring it all the way down till it hits the other end so that it's in half. I then took another scrap piece and we're going to hold one end towards the top, loop it about maybe 4 inches down, and we're going to do what's called a gathering knot. So you're going to wrap that piece around. I can't even remember how many times I wrapped it around. I want to say maybe about 6 times, 7 times. You're going to hold it and wrap it tight. Then you're going to take the other end, put it through that loop, and then while holding the other end, you're just going to then lift it and pull it through underneath the other pieces that you wrapped. So this way it's nice and tight. And then you're just going to cut off either end. And we just made our first gathering knot. Now it's time to separate our strands. Remember how your hanger is going to face. So I did 3 bunches of 4 strands. I separated the first 4 strands and then I bundled the strand that's on the left and on the right. Those are the ones that we're going to be using to make the square knot. So we're going to make it shaped like a 4, put the other thread over, then under, and then we're going to pull it all the way to the top, pulling it tight and making sure all of our strings are tight. Then we're going to do the reverse 4, pull it over, then under, and then pull it through. That is our first square knot. So remember, making it in the shape of a 4, put the other thread over, then under, and then pulling it tight. Not too tight, but just snug enough. Then we're going to do the reverse 4, over, under, and then pull it snug. I figure I'd do this a few times for some of you that haven't done it, but I have heard a lot from the last tutorial how this is making a comeback, or that you guys did it way back in the 70s. But as you know, everything does come back. So you're going to repeat this pattern, and we're going to do 6 square knots. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're going to do 6 square knots for all 3 sections. Now that those sections are done, we're going to then, I'm ahead of myself. We're going to then go down and we're going to separate the 2 from the left and then the 2 from the right. And then we're going to go down about 6 inches. And then we're going to do another 6 square knots. Just make sure that they are facing flat and facing towards you, so that this way when you do make the knots, they're not backwards. So once again, make sure that the thread is tight, and when you make the knots, they're nice and snug. There goes the reverse 4, under and over. I also find that bundling the rope, since it's so long, makes it much easier when doing the knots. Normally this would be done on a hanger, but since I am doing it on my work surface and also for video purposes, that's why I recommend bundling them. So for this set, we're going to do the same as the top. We're going to do 6 square knots for all 3 bunches. I'm really glad that macrame has made a comeback. I think I'm a little addicted. Once I was done with those knots, I took the other 2 strings and the other 2 strings from the next set and did 6 knots. And once those were done, then we're going to take the remainder 4 strings from either side and then make another 6 knots. Now I took my vase to measure to see how far down I needed to go. I measured about 24 inches down to cut the ropes. This would allow 12 inches for the jar and another 12 inches for the tail. Now don't discard these pieces because we're going to be using them for the project. I took one of the 4 strands, I separated it in 2, and then I took my ruler and I measured down from the last square knot about 7 inches. I took one of those scrap pieces, folded it in half, then tucked it under at the 7-inch mark, and with that piece, I'm going to make more square knots. These are the knots that are going to wrap around our vase. So with the scraps, I managed to get, I believe, 4 square knots. So you're going to do this for all of your pieces. In total, there should be 6 of them. So you're going to separate your ropes and you're going to do 4 of these square knots for 6 times. Now, when I got to the very end, I then flipped that to the back and then I glued the little ends onto it, sorry, and I just cut off the excess. I know we don't normally glue with macrame, but you know, you gotta improvise. So this is what it's going to look like. And you're going to do them, like I said, for all of the strands. You'll have 6 in total. Now it's time to tie everything together. I made sure to face 3 towards me and 3 towards the back. And then I measured, making sure I had the 12 inches to allow the vase to hang in there. Then I took the extra scrap piece and we're going to do another gathering knot. This time I wrapped it around, I want to say about 4 times. Then we're just going to take the end, put it through that little loop, then pull the top end through, making sure it's nice and tight, and then cutting off the excess. Now it's time to address the tails. And like I said in my last tutorial, yeah, I tried combing these through, but they got really tangled, so I just did it by hand and it really wasn't that hard. And I actually like the look of this better. But of course it needed a little trim, so I just took my scissors and I trimmed the ends. And now it's time for our vase. I got this vase at Michael's on clearance for like $1.50. I then put 2 bags of rocks, and then I got these succulents. Guys, you're not gonna believe it. I paid 25 cents on clearance at Michael's. So I used 4 of these and I just stuffed them right into the rocks and arranged them the best I could. I love these, they look so cool. And then I put them right into the plant hanger. I think this came out so great. I always wanted to do a plant hanger, and I think for a newbie trying out macrame for the first time, I think it turned out great. The next project is the Boho mandala wall decor. I used 1 small plate, some bamboo skewers, Cricut accessories, tan vinyl, and clear Dollar Tree contact paper, Waverly chalk paint in the color agave, paint brushes, cutting pliers, glue gun, glue sticks, and scissors. So I started with my skewers and my ruler. I measured 4 inches and made a mark. Then I took my next piece and I made a mark at 3 1/4 inches. And then the next one at 3 1/2, and the last one at 3. I then took my cutting pliers and I began to cut my marks. So the 4-inch piece we're going to cut 8, and the remaining measurements we're going to cut 16, leaving a total of 8 sets. Now we're going to take our little plate and the Waverly chalk paint in the color agave, and we're going to give it 2 good coats, allowing each coat to thoroughly dry. I also did paint the back of the plate, just a peeve. I then went to Cricut Design Space where I made my mandala, and then I sent my design on over to my machine, where then I peeled it, weeded it, applied the clear contact paper, burnished it, and then lifted it. So then we have my plate all nice and dry, and then I applied the decal right to the center of the plate and then lifted the paper. Now I took my 4-inch pieces and then I glued one on the top, one on the bottom, one on the left, one on the right, and then in between each of those pieces. Editing is a great thing. I then took my 3-inch pieces and I put 2 in between the 4-inch pieces. I then took my 3 1/4 inch pieces and then glued them in between the 4-inch piece. I'm going to do that for all of them. Oh, if it was only that quick. Then we're going to take the 3 1/2 inch pieces, and we're going to put them on either side of those. I just didn't want to bore you watching me glue all these pieces together. This is much more fun. Once that was done, I then took my jute cord and I took three 3-foot pieces, and then I made a braid. When I was done with the braid, I then put some glue on either end just to anchor it, and then cut it off for a clean edge. Now we have our plate. I applied a little bit of glue on the inner edge of the bamboo skewers, where we're then going to cover it with the braid, making sure to keep it as round as possible. When I got to the end, I applied a little bit of glue on the end of the rope, the braid rather, then I cut it, and then I glued it on just so that it's nice and neat. I proceeded to do the same thing on the outer edge of the plate, making sure to follow the lines of the plate so that it was round when we were all done. At the end, I repeated the same thing, put a little bit of glue on the back, cut it, so this way it was nice and straight. For the back, for the anchor, I just used the excess braid I had, and then I used some glue and the all-purpose adhesive so it wouldn't fall. Another cute and inexpensive project that cost me less than $2 in materials to make. Our final project is the macrame jar. You're going to need 1 jar, this was a recycled jar, some macrame cord, and scissors. I started with 1 piece of cord about 3 times the length of my jar, and I just made a simple knot just to keep it around the mouth of the jar to keep it secure. Then I went ahead and cut 24 pieces of cord. Now they were 6 times the length of the jar, but once you fold them in half, it's about 3 times the length. So we're going to do what's called lark's head knots with all 24 of our pieces, which will give us 48 strings. Now once that's all secured, I'm going to then tie the main cord and make it into a bow. This will also allow me to remove the macrame if I want to clean my jar. Now we're going to start with 8 of our cords, and we're going to take the 2 center ones and we're going to make a square knot, making sure you tie it all the way to the top. Once you're done with that square knot, then you're going to take the 4 cords to the right of the original 8, and then you're going to make another square knot, making sure you always pull onto your rope to make it sure your work looks nice and neat. Then you're going to take the 4 remainder that's on the left, and we're going to make then another square knot. Guys, excuse me, I'm trying to explain this the best I can, being a beginner and all. So when you're done with that 3rd square knot, I'm a little ahead of myself, sorry. I just want you guys to see. But once we're done with that, you're going to take the center 4 and you're then going to make another square knot, leaving you with a diamond shaped pattern. You're going to repeat that process for the remainder of your cords. You should have 6 diamond square knot patterns when you're all done. Now that we're done with the first pattern, this is what it's going to look like. There should be 6 of them all together. Now we're going to take 4 cords from the right of one diamond and 4 cords from the left of another diamond, and we're going to do a square knot using 8 cords, using 8 cords all together, making it a bigger square knot as shown. When you're all done doing this pattern, you should have 6 large square knots wrapping around your jar. Just remember to hold your cords so this way your knots will look neat. You could always fix them too when you're starting to tighten them if they're not falling into place. Just like I'm doing there. When you're all done, it's going to look like this. Now we're going to do a second row of the larger square knots. So you're going to take 4 cords from the knot to the right, and then 4 cords from the knot to the left, the closest cords, leaving you with 8, and you're going to repeat and make a large square knot. You're then going to repeat the pattern with the remainder of your cords around the jar, and when you're all done, you'll have 6 large square knots, just as you did with the first row. They'll just be alternating. When you're all done, this is what it's going to look like. Now it's time to give it a little haircut. So you're going to cut the edges, and then I took a comb and just combed through the ends, holding down the knots so they wouldn't come apart. And then we're going to trim it again, and it's all done. Our first macrame jar, guys. I think it came out so pretty. I'm gonna need to learn the other knots, so beware. Thanks again for watching. Remember to also go and visit Fanny at Creations by Favi. Thanks for doing this collab with me, Fanny. It was fun. And for you all, don't forget that you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nathalie Creates Crafts. Please don't forget to subscribe so that this way we'll be seeing each other next time. Until then, happy crafting, God bless, and take care.